They stood at my door like they owned the place, the same people who once left me to rot. Let me ask you something. What would you do if the people who abandoned you at your lowest suddenly came back, not to apologize, but to take everything you've built? Because that's exactly what happened to me. It was raining that night. Not softly, no. The kind of rain that pounds against your windows like it's trying to get in. I remember sitting on my couch, laptop open, going over numbers from a client meeting. Normal, quiet, controlled. Then came the knock. One sharp hit against the door. I froze. Another knock followed, louder this time, demanding. My chest tightened. I don't know why, but something felt wrong. I walked to the door slowly, each step heavier than the last. And the moment I opened it, everything inside me went cold. Standing there were Daniel, my older brother, and Aunt Beatrice. I hadn't seen them in 6 years. 6 years. No calls, no messages, no apologies, just silence. And now, here they were. Daniel didn't smile, didn't even try to pretend that this was a reunion. His eyes moved past me, scanning my house like he was already calculating its value. "Nice place," he said flatly. Aunt Beatrice folded her arms, her expression just as cold as I remembered. Then Daniel looked straight at me and said something I will never forget. "You owe us, and we're here to collect." I actually laughed, not because it was funny, but because it made no sense. "Owe you?" I asked. "For what?" That's when Beatrice stepped forward, her voice sharp like a blade. "For everything you took." Took? My stomach twisted. You see, they weren't just making noise. They came prepared. They said they had documents, proof, claims that everything I built, my business, my home, my life, somehow belonged to them. And if I didn't hand it over, they would destroy me. Legally, socially, completely. For a moment, I just stood there, staring at the two people who once watched me fall apart and did nothing. And then something strange happened. I didn't feel fear. I felt clarity. I stepped aside and opened the door wider. "Come in," I said quietly. They walked past me without hesitation, but what they didn't see was the small smile that crept onto my face, because this time, I wasn't the one about to lose everything, and they had no idea what they just walked into. Before we continue with this video, please like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell for updates. They thought I was weak because I survived silently, but they forgot something important. Silence doesn't mean I wasn't watching. Let me take you back. 6 years ago, I had nothing. No job, no home, no one. And it all started with a lie. I was 28, working as a junior financial analyst at a mid-sized firm. It wasn't glamorous, but it was stable. I was building something, slowly, carefully. Then one morning, everything collapsed. I was called into a meeting, HR, legal, my supervisor, and sitting in the corner was Daniel, my brother. That should have been my first warning. They accused me of financial misconduct, unauthorized transactions, missing funds, suspicious access logs. I remember laughing at first. I thought it was a mistake. It wasn't. They had evidence. Clean, detailed, convincing. And Daniel? He didn't defend me. He didn't even look at me. That was the moment something inside me cracked. I was fired that same day. No investigation, no second chance, just gone. So I did what anyone would do. I went to the one person I thought I could still trust, Daniel. I showed up at his apartment, knocked, waited. When he finally opened the door, I begged him to listen. "Daniel, this isn't true. You know me." He barely let me finish. "I can't be involved in this," he said coldly. "Involved?" I asked. "I'm your brother." He sighed like I was inconveniencing him. Not anymore, he said, and shut the door in my face. Just like that. No hesitation, no regret. And if you think that was the worst part, it wasn't. A week later, I was evicted, savings gone, reputation destroyed. No one would hire me. So I turned to Aunt Beatrice. She welcomed me in with that same fake warmth she always had, told me I could stay for a little while. For 3 nights, I believed her. On the 4th morning, I woke up to silence. My bags were outside, and taped to the door was a note. I can't be associated with your problems. No goodbye, no conversation, just rejection. I remember sitting on the sidewalk, staring at that note, feeling something shift inside me. Not sadness, not even anger. Something colder. Something sharper. That was the day I stopped expecting anything from anyone and started building alone. But here's the part they never knew. Even back then, something about it all felt wrong. Too clean, too perfect, like I hadn't just been abandoned, I had been removed. And as I sat across from them now, watching Daniel slide that folder toward me like he owned my future, that same feeling came rushing back. Only this time, I was ready for it. Because the truth behind what happened back then was far worse than they ever imagined.
At first, it was just a feeling. Something didn't add up. The speed of my firing, the precision of the accusations. So I hired someone, a forensic accountant. And what we found, it changed everything. Those unauthorized transactions tied to my name, they were real. But I didn't make them. Daniel did, using my credentials, covering his tracks, and when the system flagged irregularities, he redirected everything onto me. I wasn't just abandoned. I was sacrificed. And Aunt Beatrice? She wasn't innocent either. Financial transfers, hidden, layered, led straight to her accounts. They didn't just leave me to suffer. They built their safety on my destruction. And now, 6 years later, they were back. Not because I owed them, but because they were running out of time. Daniel's finances were collapsing. Beatrice was being quietly investigated. They needed control of my clean, legitimate business to bury their past. But here's the part they didn't know. I already had everything I needed. Evidence, records, proof. And the meeting they just agreed to? It wasn't a negotiation. It was a setup. So when the day finally came and we all sat down with lawyers, documents neatly arranged, Daniel smiled and said, "Let's finish this." I smiled back and placed my own file on the table. "Absolutely," I said. "Let's make sure everything comes out properly." The moment their confidence cracked was the moment everything they built started collapsing. The room felt heavy. Not loud, not chaotic, just tense. You know that kind of silence? The kind that sits in your chest and makes it hard to breathe? That's what it felt like. Daniel was smiling, relaxed, leaning back in his chair like a man about to sign a winning deal. Aunt Beatrice sat beside him, composed, but I could see it, that flicker in her eyes. Impatience, greed. They wanted this over with. They wanted my life handed to them. "Let's not waste time," Daniel said, tapping the stack of papers in front of him. "We've already agreed on the terms." I nodded slowly. "Of course," I replied. Then I slid my file onto the table. Not aggressively, not dramatically, just deliberately. At first, they didn't react. Why would they? They thought this was just paperwork, routine, formal, predictable. But then my lawyer leaned forward, and everything changed. "Before any agreement is signed," he said calmly, "we'd like to review a few details for full transparency." Daniel's smile tightened slightly. What kind of details? The first document was placed in front of him, a transaction log. Dates, times, access points. His name wasn't on it. Mine was. But then came the second page. System access records, location pings, device IDs, all pointing to one thing. The transactions weren't made from my workstation. They were made from his. The room shifted. I watched it happen, that tiny fracture in his confidence. Coincidence, he said quickly, too quickly. Then came the next document, a full forensic audit. Every missing dollar traced, every movement mapped, every layer peeled back, and at the center of it all, Daniel. His lawyer stopped flipping pages, stopped speaking, just stopped. Beatrice leaned forward now, her composure cracking. "This is ridiculous. These can be fabricated." I didn't say anything. I didn't need to, because the next file spoke for me. Bank transfers, offshore routing, then back again. And the receiving account? Her name. Her silence was immediate, deafening. That's when Daniel turned to me fully for the first time. Not with arrogance, not with control, but with something I had never seen in his eyes before. Fear. "You planned this?" he asked. I held his gaze, and for a moment I let the silence answer for me. Then I spoke. "You didn't just leave me to suffer," I said quietly. "You made sure I did." No one moved. No one spoke. And then I delivered the final piece. "I submitted all of this to the authorities 3 weeks ago." That was it. That was the moment. The exact second everything broke. Daniel pushed his chair back abruptly. But it was too late. Because this meeting, it wasn't a negotiation. It was documentation, a final record, a trap already closed. I leaned back slightly, my voice calm, steady, final. "And now," I said, "you don't get to threaten me anymore." The room fell into complete silence, and for the first time in 6 years, they had nothing left to say. So what really happened after that moment? Did they fight back, or did everything finally catch up to them? Here's the truth. They didn't have a way out. Within days of that meeting, everything started moving, fast. The evidence I submitted wasn't just strong, it was undeniable. Authorities launched a formal investigation, and this time, Daniel wasn't the one controlling the narrative. Every transaction was verified, every digital footprint confirmed, every lie exposed. The fraud case from 6 years ago reopened, and this time it told the real story. Daniel had used his position to access restricted systems, reroute funds, and then frame me when internal flags started appearing. He needed a scapegoat, someone close enough to be believable. That someone was me. And Aunt Beatrice? She knowingly accepted and concealed portions of that money, helping him hide it through layered transfers. They didn't abandon me out of inconvenience. They abandoned me to protect themselves. And when their world started collapsing years later, they came back to finish what they started. Only this time, the truth was waiting. Daniel was arrested and formally charged. Fraud, identity misuse, financial theft. He lost everything. His job, his reputation, his freedom. Beatrice wasn't spared either. Her accounts were frozen. She faced charges for financial complicity and obstruction. Family members who once stayed silent, they distanced themselves overnight. No one wanted to be associated with the truth. And those threats they made? Gone. Completely gone. As for me, the day I got the official confirmation, the case closed, my name cleared, I didn't celebrate. I didn't cry. I just sat in my living room, in silence. The same room where they once tried to take everything from me. And I realized something. I wasn't angry anymore. I wasn't hurt anymore.
I was free. Free from their lies, free from their shadows, free from the version of me they tried to destroy. Weeks later, life felt different, calmer, lighter. My business didn't fall, it grew. People trusted me more when they learned the truth. And one evening, there was a knock at my door again. I walked up slowly, opened it. No one was there. Just quiet. Peaceful, still quiet. And for the first time, it didn't feel like something was coming to take from me. It felt like everything I had built was finally mine. I closed the door gently, walked back inside, and smiled. Because in the end, they came to take everything and lost everything instead.